Hi everybody, let's have a look at the Tesla chart. So as you guys can see, I have the monthly chart open, and one of the first things that we need to do in regards to first opening charts is to ask ourselves what it is that we see on the chart, right? So yeah, what do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? I can see that we had excuse me, or rather we have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it tells me that in the future price needs to get to that level rather to grab that liquidity. As I've said before, liquidity candlesticks represent money, and that money needs to be grabbed by the market sooner or later. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? We also have these two candlesticks over here. They are also liquidity candlesticks in that they are carrying a whole lot of liquidity where those two candlesticks end. To add to that level, or rather this level, is a very strong level of support, right? Which means that we might see price coming to this level as well to grab that liquidity, as well as to just retest that area of support, right? Another thing that is also very interesting is the fact that we have this candlestick over here. It is also a liquidity candlestick in that where it ends, it is carrying a whole lot of liquidity, which, as I've described, means that the market at one point or another needs to come to that level as well to grab some liquidity. So in conclusion, we can tell that there is scope for price to keep going back down, and that is because we have a whole lot of liquidity areas down there, and at one point or another, as I said, price needs to head down to grab all of those liquidity points. It may take some weeks, it may take years, it may take a decade to get to even this level. We don't know, but in the future price has to grab all of that liquidity, right? Okay, so let's continue. So what else do we see that we should be paying attention to? In fact, before we continue, I think I'm just going to mark all of those areas so that we do not forget about them, because they're very much important. Now I'll start off with this one. I'll say that this is a very strong area of support, right? And we also have liquidity there. So just bear with me. Let's see. Just bear with me, guys. There goes our liquidity at that level. Okay, let's see. All right. I'm not gonna mark this one because it is very much far off. For now, we'll concentrate on this one as well as on this one, this level as well. I'm just gonna mark that one as well. There we go. Right. So what else do we see, guys, on this chart that is particularly very interesting? So as much as we have all of those points, we also had, or rather have, an overextended M structure in that area, and the neck is somewhere in that area, and we can see that the neck has been broken. So price broke the neckline and then went back up to retest the neckline, and we should be looking for further selling opportunities where price is. And the anticipation is that the market has to fill all of these candlesticks that are in this area, or rather all of those liquidity candlesticks that are in this area, and then possibly from there move further up, at least to the neckline again, or move further down to where we have this candlestick over here, which is also carrying a whole lot of liquidity, right? So yeah, that's where we are at this point in time. Do we see anything else of value on this chart that we should be paying attention to? At this stage, I don't see anything. So what I'm going to do now is head down to the weekly chart. Okay, so here we are on the weekly chart. Let's see what is interesting on this particular chart. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So on the weekly chart, we have a gap over here, and that tells us that the market has to fill that gap at one point or another. We also have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that the market needs to come to that level at one point to fill that, or rather to fill that candle. We have another one over here as well, which is also a liquidity candlestick and is holding a whole lot of liquidity at that level. I'm not going to mark those two candles. I'm just going to leave them for now, but in the back of our minds we need to keep that we have those candlesticks up there. Let's see, so what else do we see on this chart that is interesting? What else do we see on this chart that is interesting? I'm actually going to go back to the monthly chart because I actually forgot to add the neckline of that huge M structure that I spoke about. There we go. The neckline is there. In case you're a bit confused, I'm referring to this M structure over here with the neckline being there. And I said that the market needs to head up to retest the neckline and then push further down, right? And just remember that necklines are an area and not an actual line. So here we are again on the weekly chart. So what else do we see in this chart that we should be paying attention to, or that is interesting? So we also have this candlestick over here. It is also a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that the market needs to head down at some point. We have another one over here. It's also a liquidity candlestick, but it's in the same area as the liquidity candlestick that I spoke about on the monthly chart, right? So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? In fact, before we continue, I'm just going to mark those two candlesticks as well because they are very much important. Okay, there goes the first one. In fact, I'm not going to mark the second one because it's very much in line with the candlestick that I had marked on the daily, or rather on the monthly chart. So let's continue. So as much as we have this M structure with a neckline being there, can you guys see that we also have a W structure here with a neckline being here? However, the neckline of the W structure has not yet been broken. However, based on this W structure, I can tell you right now that we have a whole lot of, or rather, a lot of traders and investors bought in this region on the second leg of the W, and that is because when it comes to W structures, people usually buy on the second leg of the W, and then they just place their stop losses just below that structure. So as much as we have these liquidity areas here and at the bottom, we also have some stop losses that are trapped in here, and that is because, as I said, a lot of traders and investors bought on the second leg of that W, right? So we just need to keep that in the back of our minds, and just also remember that the neckline of this W structure has not yet been broken at this point in time, right? So we have a bit of a situation here actually, because we have this M structure. Just bear with me. We have this M structure and we also have this W structure, and the neckline of the M structure is there, and the neckline of the W structure, which has not yet been broken, is also in more or less the same area, right? So once price breaks above the neckline of the W structure, yeah, we will be in a bit of a dilemma, and that is because we have two opposing structures that have necklines in more or less the same structure. The M formations neckline is there, and the W formations neckline is also there. So buying or selling in this region would make it a bit risky, as far as I'm concerned, especially if you are buying or selling on the bigger time frames. However, let us go to the smaller time frames to see if we can actually get away with it. So what I'm going to do now is head down to the daily chart. Just bear with me. So the first thing that we're going to do on this daily chart is add our channel. Just bear with me, guys. So there goes our daily channel. Let's see. Yeah, there goes our daily channel. So what else do we see on the daily chart that is interesting or that we should be paying attention to? Let's see. So on the daily chart, we also have a triangle in this region. I'm just gonna make it a different color so it stands out as well. Make it a pink. There we go. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. So there we go. There goes our triangle. So what this triangle tells me, as we're heading closer and closer to the end of the triangle, is that we are about to see a breakout either to the top or to the bottom, right? And we just need to keep in the back of our minds that today, or by the time you see this actual video, Tesla would have released their earnings for the season, and based on their earnings, I believe that the market will either push up or push further down. If it pushes further down, it'll fill all of those candle filling areas. If it pushes further up, it'll close this gap over here. We have a gap there, and I also spoke about those liquidity candlesticks on the, I think, weekly chart, if memory serves, right? But for now, in as far as the daily chart goes, I don't see any buying or selling opportunities. But what I'm going to do right now is head down to the H4 chart. On the H4 chart, I'm just going to fix my lines just to make sure that they are in order. Just bear with me. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that should be fine. So what else do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? What is it on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's see. So we have a triangle on the H4 chart as well, and at this point in time, I don't really see much, except that we had an overextended information here with the neckline being there. Price broke the neckline, then went back to the neckline to retest it, and we would have looked for further selling opportunities there, and we saw price push further down, right? We also had another overextended M structure here with the neckline being there. The neckline is in line with the gap as well, and I've said that we are yet to see price come back to this area to close that gap. Also, can you see that the neckline here of that huge M structure that I spoke about on the bigger time frames is actually in line with the neckline of the smaller M structure as well as that gap. So there's scope for price to, or the market to, come to this level to not only retest the neckline of that huge M structure, but to retest the neckline of the smaller M structure, as well as to close the gap that's here, because there's a whole lot of liquidity sitting at that level, right? So what else do we see? So we also had here an overextended W structure, and I mentioned that because of this W structure, we have a whole lot of traders and investors who have bought in this region, and the anticipation is that the market will continue to go up in that manner. Another thing that I also mentioned is that in this region we have a whole lot of stop losses, and we might see price coming back to trigger those stop losses and also fill those liquidity candlesticks that I spoke about, right? So however, in as far as looking for buying or selling opportunity goes, at this point in time I do not see any opportunities. However, as I said, guys, I would love to see price get to this point, and this is where I would most likely look for selling opportunities if I see price rejecting at this level. I'm not saying that at this level we should just be selling. Just by virtue of having price get to this level, we would have to look for further confluence and further reasons why we should be looking for selling opportunities. Nonetheless, I think this is a good place to look for selling opportunities. And should we sell over here, I would love to see price come to this level to grab that liquidity, come to this level to grab that liquidity, and come to this level over here to grab that liquidity as well. So that is it in as far as my analysis of Tesla goes. And peace out.